thank you all for coming, and welcome to the 2013 NAIA Women's Basketball Division I National Championship Semifinal Press Conference. We're here with Cumberland University from Tennessee. First of all, congratulations on reaching the semifinals, Coach and everyone else. And
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We'll start by going left to right down the line, introducing yourself and what position you play.
Start with me. I'm Coach Lewis, the head coach at Cumberland University.
I'm Jessica Pace. I'm a senior and I'm a forward.
I'm Joseph Campbell. I'm a senior. I'm a guard.
I'm Bree Ty. I'm a senior and I'm a point guard.
Okay, we'll go ahead and open up the questions.
Not all at once.
Start with this question's for Brianna and Josette. Coming from Robert Morris, a little ways from home, coming into Cumberland, what were your expectations coming into this season?
I don't know. After speaking with Coach Lou, we just had it in our mind that we was gonna come in and just contribute straight away to a winning season, and we had heard that the team, like towards the end of the season, had picked it up and was winning games, and they just needed a few more pieces to the puzzle, and we knew we could come in and help, and that was our goal, just to come in and have a winning season, and it's worked so far. So, yeah.
Same thing when we came in. I remember like the first talk we had with Coach Lou, we were just talking about how excited we were and how we thought we could win a national championship and be contenders, and I guess now here we are, so it was kind of just like that.
Coach, you can answer this, and maybe they could too, but a lot of times we have a lot of transfers, which you have on this team. It's hard to get everybody to gel.
Yeah.
How much of an advantage is it to have two that have already played together transfer again?
It is. It's a big advantage, and like you said, I think that's the tricky thing with transfers. When you get a group of transfers in, it's hard to get them all on the same page lots of times. And I think the thing that we had going for us was we had a good group of the kids back from last season. So they already knew the system and the style of play and things we were wanting to do. And I tell people this all the time. The most important thing that happened for us were the kids that were starters last year bought in just as quick as the transfers did, and they accepted their roles immediately. And I think that was the most important thing for us. There were some kids, Casey Cowan and Simone Ryan and Yolanda Davis had started for our basketball team before, and they were willing to accept roles. You know what, I'm going to come off the bench and I may play 15 minutes a night, okay, but I understand that my 15 minutes is just as important as the 25 minutes that Pace or Bree or Joe or Takoya or London may play. And something that's been great with our team is we don't rely on one kid to come out and score 20 every single night. That's not who we are. We'll have 4 or 5 kids in double figures. I think we've had 8 different kids lead us in scoring in a game this year. The number, it might be 9. I'm not sure. I think there's a game or 2 that Calamity Jane led us in scoring throughout the season. So I think that's been the special part about our team. And our kids love seeing everybody else be successful. There's not a kid on our team. It'd be easy for Jessica Pace to be like, I should get 14 shots a night. But she doesn't think that way. She shoots 7 balls, and we win the basketball game. That's all these kids care about. That's all they've cared about all season long.
To kind of go along with that question, who would you describe as the leaders on your team, and what do they bring to your team that makes them special?
That's a good question. We talked about it a lot last season, and we talked about it early this season. I'm not the type of coach that I don't put leadership on one kid. Sometimes I don't think it's fair, and being a leader is really hard. When you're in that position on a basketball team, you have to do it the right way every single day, and they're kids. They're going to make mistakes at times. We've talked about on this team, every player 1 through 15, every single person can lead in their own way on our basketball team. And that's the way it's been. If you play 20 minutes a night, if you don't play at all, you still serve a leadership role. If you don't play, if you're not in the rotation, but you show up to practice every single day and you work your tail off, or you're the kid on the bench that's constantly cheering and talking to your teammates, and when they come out, hey, I see this on the floor, that's leadership. That's being a leader. Okay, now in the course of the heat of the battle, yeah, there are certain ones that I'm going to look at in the course of a game and say, I can give Pace a look, or I can give Bree a certain look, and they'll kind of look at me like, I got you, it's time to pick it up. And, you know, I think everybody has a voice on our basketball team, but there are certain ones in the heat of the moment. And, you know, Joe's pretty fiery, you know, in the course of the game, and she's not afraid to get into her teammates. That's something else we've talked about. You know, kids are very coachable, but also amongst themselves as players, they're coachable with each other. And I don't think a team can become special until they start to police themselves, you know, and I think this group has done that for the majority of this season.
Coach, you're not the only conference champion that is in the final round or the semifinals here, but you're the only team to win a conference championship in your first year in this conference. Talk about the transition from Trend South to Mid South and what it took to be a championship program in that first year as a new conference.
It was really hard, really, really hard. I told a lot of people this year I was just tired I mean, you had to be so prepared to play in our league. It's, you know, I felt like for my money it was the toughest league, and I know teams always feel that way about their leagues, but I just felt like in our basketball league this year, you couldn't take a night off. I don't. If you were playing any of the bottom 2 or 3 teams at the league, if you were going to their place and your kids felt like they could take a night off, you're going to lose. That's just how it was. We had to be prepared for every single basketball game. Obviously, stepping into a new league and not knowing the teams as well as we did when we left the Trans-South. You know, if we would have won in the Trans-South this year, I would have felt very comfortable because I knew the style of play. I knew all the coaches. I knew what their tendencies were with their players and their systems. We tried as much as we could to schedule some games with Mid-South teams over the last 2 years, especially last season, knowing we were going to make the jump into the league, to try to get a feel for what it was going to be like playing on the road in the league, which was exceptionally tough. I'm not going to say I'm surprised by anything that our team has done, but if you'd have told me this season that we would have went and not lost a game on the road all season long in our league, I would have just been like, wow, that's, you know, for this group to accomplish that has been amazing.
This question is for the 3 players. Calling this championship a grind might be an understatement. With so many games in so short a time, what has fueled you to keep going, to keep getting better through each round, to keep pushing yourself?
The naysayers, the doubters, the people who always said that we wouldn't make it to the top, the people who said we wouldn't win, and just the love for each other that we have. That's been our motivation all season.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like we're doing this for each other. I know, like, out of the 15 of us, I think we've all been in situations where I feel like we've been done wrong by certain people maybe in the past, and I feel like we've been brought here together for a reason, and right now we're just, like you said, we're on a grind to the top, and I feel like we're doing it for one another. We know what we've been through, we know where we can go, and we're just working hard to get there, so we're just going to keep doing it as a team. We're going to win as a team, we're going to win national titles as a team, we're just going to keep grinding.
Yeah, I just think that we all have like a certain understanding and love for each other. I think a lot of the times when things get hard during the game, we all kind of realize that and come together as a team. I just think all season long we've been like striving to be #1, and even when we won 30 games and we still couldn't kind of like break into that top 5, and I think that that's really important, like when we were coming into this tournament, because it kind of motivated us to play even harder when we played those teams that got those higher rankings. So I think that plays a big part in it, and I just think that we do have like a lot of seniors, and I think that plays a huge role. But this is where we, like, a national championship is where we want to end our college careers. So.
Coach, can you speak to any adversity that you've overcome and how you've done that?
Yeah. We've had a lot of moments in games this season. I've told our kids, the thing about this team, I think what's been special about us, and you know, I try not to use the word too much, but I think this is a special group. There have been a lot of moments in games where we've been easy for our kids to fold or stop playing. Situations being on the road and maybe being down a couple of baskets, or you know, maybe calls aren't going your way, maybe fouls start adding up. We went through a stretch this year. You know, we lost pace halfway through a game at our place against St. Catherine. She hyperextended her knee. We ended up losing the game, at the end. And it would have been easy for our kids to be like, well, you know, we're not as good without her, and we're, you know, maybe we'll drop a couple of games. I remember getting back in the locker room, and the first person to say something was Joe, and she said, no matter what happens, we have to stay together, and we can't let one loss turn into two. And I thought that was huge for her to say that. And, you know, Pace gets hurt. Joe gets the flu and is out a couple of games. Simone Ryan was ineligible a couple of games. We played without those three kids a couple of games in a row, and our kids just find ways to win basketball games. Now, I think there's something to be said for just having a will to win. And no matter what, just figure it out as a group. We're going to guard every possession. We'll figure out a way to make some baskets. And, you know, I think that's the other thing about this team is they've had a commitment to playing defense this whole season. And I've been saying all year long to anybody that's asked me, you know, that's what's made it fun for me to coach. When your best players want to play defense, it makes it easy to coach a basketball team. It really does. And especially when you get transfers. When I talked to these two at the end of the summer, I asked Joe, I said, what do you think you do best as a basketball player? And most kids, if they're any kind of player, are going to be like, oh, I get buckets, or I can shoot the three, or I can get to the rack. She said, I play defense. And I was just like, wow, you know, and that's been us in a nutshell. That's been us this whole year. You know, we've fought through a lot of adversity, but just having a will to win, you know, and that's something you can't teach kids to have. I think it's just something that's in them, and they've been able to reach inside of themselves and reach inside of each other and pull things out.
Of course, Coach, we got to talk about the matchup a little bit. You've got the University, a team that has a small history with Cumberland in the past before you took over as a program. But what's it like to play an in-state team, a team that you've seen a little bit maybe, or at least if not head-to-head, you've still seen them and very familiar with them being on the Flowers away?
Well, I mean, we're excited to be playing the game because that means we're still playing. You know, when we came into the tournament, we were getting ready to play Coastal Georgia, and we had some film on them. Obviously, you know, they played Lee in the semifinals of their tournament. That was their last game, so we had the film, and I gave these two, they said they wanted to watch it. So I gave them the film, and they went back to their room and watched it, and they came back in the office the next morning, and I said, what do you think about Coastal Georgia? And they said, well, we think Lee's really good, you know, which was kind of funny. That's the first thing they said. We think Lee's really good. And, you know, obviously we've seen them here. They got two kids that can flat score, you know, German and Adams. And then they've got other kids on the floor that are really good at what they do, with their roles, whether it be shooters, defensive players, screeners, rebounders. They're going to be really physical inside. They're going to get after it defensively in the man-to-man. I think a huge key to the game is how we guard the three-point line, and we have to keep them off the offensive boards. They killed Oklahoma City on the glass. And if you can do that to Oklahoma City, that's saying something, you know, as long and athletic and physical as they are. So it should be a good matchup.
Okay, well, we've hit our time limit, so Coach and everyone else, thank you very much for taking time to speak with us today, and good luck tomorrow.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.